For those of you who have been waiting to hear how nasty, vicious, and toxic election season is, your wait is over. So, I dropped out of UCLA. Pretty sure it was week 4. For all intents and purposes, I was still a student. My community was still very much in the school. Like, I lived less than 3 blocks from campus, and it was right in the middle of the quarter. So, in retrospect, while I stand by my decision, I think I've already said this, I could have planned it a little less drastically, and I could have planned things a little bit better. But stand by my decision. Was always very involved in the community, and that's just always been the case since I was a kid. So I didn't really tell anybody. I didn't make an announcement on Facebook that I was dropping out, that I was withdrawing. Anyway, but it was it was a lot mentally, okay? I was in and out of depression. Talk more about that this time, but student elections was kind of like the last thing I was more or less going to do as a student. Even though, again, I had already dropped out. Boy, this was so, by the way, so this is week 7 of spring quarter. Okay. So let me just explain the landscape again. All right. So if you remember, or maybe not, when I broke things down from freshman year, there was Bruins United, BU, the literal letter B and the literal letter U, Bruins United, where you can BEYOU, okay? Get it? Cute, trendy. Very, very, very well funded, as this was a coalition of essentially all of the white booster societies and the Zionists. That's essentially who formed BU. Let's Act was the other group that ran a slate that year. That's not entirely true. I'm going to step on that in a second. But Let's Act was essentially a coalition of all the different student orgs. So pretty much like everyone else. In the United States, the Democrats and Republicans are the same shit, but at least what you would think, the Democrats are, the party of the people, versus the Republicans, right? Well-funded corporations, BU. Anyway, that year, BU, for president, was running Marley, who, if you remember, I had worn a shirt that says "obsessed with this person." Very, very popular, dumb as a rock, but very good looking, in one of the top white booster societies. Not only that, it's worth mentioning that the previous president, I'm not sure if immediately before, if there was a 1-year gap, president of UCLA before Marley was from the same white booster society. And if you want to get a sense of just how powerful these people are, if you've been paying attention to the wildfires, as well as where we are at in Los Angeles, the Eaton fire, etc., and how one couple owns 40% of the water in California, so that person, yeah, she's a part of that family. The previous president of UCLA before this is a part of that family, that bloodline. Anyway, so that's right. The major fight, if you will, was between Let's Act and BU. Let's Act actually had the funding to be able to run a full slate of candidates this year. I know that kind of changed, and the year before, they had only run 3 different candidates, or 2 or 3 candidates, and it just really depended. The person who broke this down for me was I don't know if you remember Molly. Molly's girlfriend broke this down for me. Molly from my freshman year. So who I've kept in touch with to this day. Anyway, so I won't get into all of the drama from like people taking pictures of us like with our stands up. Like we did leafleting in the dorms and then we got snitched on. I won't get into all that drama. Sorry. And then before I forget, there was another unofficial slate that they only ran like 3 or 4 candidates, but it was like president, vice president, etc. And I don't remember the name of the other slate, nor am I going to name or even care to give pseudonyms to the candidates that were being run. Not only because I think that they're jokes, but because I don't like some of the tactics that they used. And essentially what ended up happening was they just ended up diluting the vote. And again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but one of the things that I remember happening of many dramatic, toxic events that happened during election week was that I think it was we got in trouble for leafleting in the dorms, which again, not allowed, right? And so somebody on our team, on Let's Act side, somebody was in the same white booster society as Marley, however, and kept things very hidden, very hush-hush, didn't like the tactics that Marley was using in her campaign, AKA running around to the different frats with a laptop and just getting all the frat guys to vote. And we literally had proof of that. She probably did the same thing on Sorority Row. So do you get what I'm putting down? These people are so well funded. They have all the resources in the world and they still cheat on top of that. Okay? And they take these habits, these lessons with them to Congress and the police force and the judiciary, etc. And this is where all of this comes from, people. Do you understand what the hell I'm putting down? This is UCLA, people. Do you want to, like, I can only imagine what goes on in the Ivy League, right? Or some of the other, like, come on, people. So, anyway, I'll never forget that we had proof that Marley's bitch ass had gone to the frat houses, and we literally had like a document where they had signups. Like, it was just insane, the level of cheating and disgustingness that these people went to. Anyway. So then there comes election night, and it's always, the tension's very high because it's like this all happens in the span of a week and all this drama. And I mean, when I say like it's like Democrat versus Republican and just like not really, but it's like there's lots of racial lines too. Actually, and very much so, because it's UCLA, and I've already explained the racial breakdown, especially at least during my time while I was there. So again, election night comes, and so the way that they do it is that everybody, I'm not sure if it's at midnight or if it's like 10 p.m. or 9 p.m., but it's like there's like the cutoff, and then everybody gathers and they announce the results like everybody gathers like in person. And the way that they do it is backwards. So they go from the gen reps backwards on up to external vice president, internal vice president, all the way on up. And then the last one that they announce is president, right? And again, Marley was super, super popular, very cute. Oh, I did mention that she like went bald, like went before the campaign, did this whole little video on social media. Anyway, so we were getting skewered. Let's Act was getting absolutely skewered. And again, you could just cut the tension with a knife. People were standing on opposite sides of, was it Kirchhoff Hall? Why do I want to say Kirchhoff? It's like, because it wasn't at the Student Activity Center is where they announced the results. But then they announced president, and Let's Act's candidate won. John Janino. I'll say his name because he was president of UCLA. Easily look that up and confirm that. But I'll remember, like, it was like we were shocked. Everybody breaks into celebration. We leave. We like gather in a big circle. It's interesting. The energy's interesting because we did take some losses. I think 4, maybe 3 or 4 won, including the president of that. And then I'll never forget, as like Marley's trying to like sneak away and leave back to and honestly, Me and this other girl had the same question. Like, bitch, the white booster societies are that way. Like, why are you coming this way? Like, it made no sense. Like, go to sorority row. But anyway, she like creeped her way over, and I was like, and I made this big thing of like, yeah, well, I'm glad at least she didn't win. And she was like, and ran over and like was pulled back by her little, like, bitch, what are you gonna do? Okay. So anyway, that was election night. That was election season. What year was this? 2013. 2013. Because my freshman year was 2011, 2012, 2013. Boom. So we are now week 7. Dropped out of UCLA. Wait until you hear what happens next.